My name is Regina Mall, and until a few weeks ago, I thought I understood my place in my family. Not the favorite, not the troublemaker, just the reliable one. The one who helped, the one who didn't need as much, the one whose bank account somehow belonged to everyone else. But everything changed at one brunch table. White tablecloth, polished silverware, sunlight glinting off champagne flutes, when my 9-year-old nephew sliced through the final thread of my patience. I've never liked Eli. There, I said it. He's 9, but he walks around with the attitude of a tiny CEO who knows HR can't touch him. I've endured years of tantrums, demands, insults, and threats thrown like confetti. His parents, my brother Ryan, and his influencer dreaming wife Megan call him spirited or gifted. What he really is unchecked. And yet somehow I became the idiot who paid half his private school tuition. Not voluntarily. Ryan asked 2 years ago, said it was temporary until his raise came in. He got the raise. The payments never stopped. Every month, $1,100 quietly draining from my account. No thank you, no update, not even a birthday text. My family acted like because I didn't have kids, and because I earned more, I owed them. Like I was a spare branch of the family tree, bending to support the trunk. I told myself it was kindness. Now I know it was enabling. Brunch was my dad's idea, a new trendy place downtown, the kind where the plates are more architecture than food. I wore a navy dress I bought for a work gala last year and carried a handbag I'd saved months for. My one indulgence, my one splurge. The moment I sat down, Eli's eyes locked on it like a heat-seeking missile. Dad says you buy fake bags to feel rich. Loud, clear. A couple at the next table turned. Before I could react, he grabbed a butter knife and, without hesitation, sawed right through the strap. I froze. It happened so fast I thought he was pretending. Then the strap dropped onto the table with a soft, humiliating thud. And everyone, every single adult at that table, laughed. My mother's startled giggle, my dad's tight smile, Megan's influencer laugh, wide and performative. Ryan leaned back like this was peak comedy. Even Eli looked around proudly, waiting for applause. Relax, Ryan said. It's not like it's real. Something inside me shifted. A clean, sharp snap. Not just at Eli, but at all of them. At the years of being the family wallet with a pulse. At being mocked, dismissed, drained, and expected to smile through it. I didn't argue, didn't explain, didn't defend myself. I finished my drink, stood, and left before the food even arrived. That night, I logged into my online banking and, without ceremony, ended the tuition transfer. No warning, no explanation, no guilt. Let them handle it. I slept better than I had in months. Day 3, I was sipping coffee at my desk when Ryan's text came in. Hey, I think you forgot the transfer. School sent a notice. Can you send it today? I didn't even open it. Just let the preview sit there on my lock screen like a fly I refused to swat. I knew they'd notice eventually. People always notice when their free labor disappears. That night, Regina, come on. They charge late fees. Eli's going to feel this. Just handle it, then we'll talk. I turned my phone off and went to bed. Day 5. 2 missed calls from Ryan. 1 from Megan. And then the voicemail from my mother. Honey, can you call your brother? He said something happened at brunch. Of course Ryan hadn't told her the truth. That evening I called her back. I didn't dramatize. I didn't exaggerate. I simply told her what happened. Eli's comment, the knife, the laughter, the entitlement dripping off Ryan's face. Silence. Then, I didn't realize it was that bad. I'll talk to him. Someone finally heard me, for the first time in years. Saturday passed. Dead quiet in the family group chat. No, look at Eli's science project. No Megan posting updates from wherever she'd vanished to. Just stillness. Like the house after a storm, when you don't know if it's over or just catching its breath. On Sunday morning, my dad sent a text. Come over at 2. We need to talk. My stomach dropped, not in fear, but in anticipation. Somewhere deep down, I knew. This wasn't just about tuition. This was about everything my family had been burying for years. When I arrived, Ryan was already pacing the living room, jaw tight, ready for battle. Mom sat stiff on the couch. Dad stood by the window, arms crossed. Ryan didn't even greet me. You seriously pulled tuition over a handbag? I ignored the jab. I asked if he even understood how humiliating that brunch was, how his son destroyed something I worked for, how everyone laughed. You're being dramatic, he snapped. You don't know what it's like raising a kid. You've got disposable income and no family. You should want to help. I laughed once. Quiet, bitter, involuntary. The entitlement wasn't even disguised anymore. He said the quiet part loud. Before I could reply, Dad cut in sharply. Sit down, Ryan. The room froze. Dad doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't need to. Ryan sat. Dad looked at him like he was seeing him for the first time. You're spoiling that boy into something no one will want to be around. He disrespected your sister. He disrespected all of us. And you defended him. He paused. If you won't parent him, I will. Ryan blinked like he'd been slapped. I said nothing. There was nothing left to add. For the first time, the truth wasn't coming from me. Someone else finally said it out loud. The days after that confrontation felt like walking across thin ice, quiet but tense, every step uncertain. No one messaged the family group chat, no photos of Eli holding up unreadable school projects, no Megan posting poolside selfies from whatever rooftop she'd escaped to. Just silence. A silence that felt less like peace and more like pressure building. The following weekend, Ryan invited everyone over. His message was painfully formal. I think we all need to clean slate. That's how I knew he was falling apart. Ryan never said things like that unless his world was already collapsing behind him. I arrived at our parents' house to find him pacing again, wringing his hands, trying to pretend he was in control. Mom looked exhausted. Dad had that expression he wore during tax season. Tight jaw, patience measured in centimeters. Megan wasn't there. Of course she wasn't. When she finally arrived, a full hour late, she breezed into the room like she was stepping onto a photo shoot set. Tan, glossy, bright white sundress, tiny handbag, sunglasses still on her head. Missed you guys, she sang, as though she hadn't ignored 3 days of family chaos. Dad didn't greet her. A bad sign. She sat, crossed her legs, and immediately launched into her script. I just think it's really toxic, she said, brushing imaginary lint off her lap, to hold money over a child's head. Punishing Eli doesn't teach him anything. The room stilled. Not one apology, not one question about what actually happened, not one acknowledgement of the bag she let her son destroy. She wasn't here to understand. She was here to control the narrative. For once, I didn't need to respond. Mom beat me to it. Are you even listening to yourself, Megan? Her voice didn't rise, didn't shake, but it was sharper than I'd ever heard it. My mother avoids conflict like it burns her, but something in her had snapped cleanly in two. You've been gone for days, Mom continued, and Regina has been paying for that school for almost 2 years. Your son humiliated her, and you said nothing. Then you flew across the country like you didn't have a child at all. Who do you think you are? Megan blinked. Her smile twitched. She tried to laugh it off, her trademark influencer giggle, but the room didn't laugh with her. Dad stood up. That was his tell. He only stood when he'd reached his limit. Megan, he said quietly, if you don't want to be a mother, that's your choice. But you don't get to drift in and out of this family when it's convenient. That boy needs structure. He needs boundaries. He needs parents. From now on, Eli stays here every weekend until things change. The words hit like a thunderclap. Megan's jaw clenched hard enough to crack enamel, but she didn't argue. Maybe because she knew she couldn't win. Maybe because for the first time, someone told her she wasn't untouchable. Later that evening, after everyone left, Ryan called me alone. His voice wasn't angry, wasn't demanding, just tired. Regina, they're reassessing Eli at school, he said. He said the word reassessing like it was a warning sign he couldn't decipher. He asked if I could cover one last payment, a reduced one, $600. The school was giving them time to review behavior patterns. I didn't say yes immediately, didn't say no either. He kept talking, voice cracking in ways I'd never heard. I know I messed up. I know we took advantage of you, but I'm trying. Megan's trying. I need to fix this. For the first time in years, Ryan sounded real. Not defensive, not superior. Just a father scared of losing his son. I agreed one time, not for Ryan, for Eli. He went quiet. No smug thanks, no self-congratulation. Just a heavy exhale. Something shifting. Maybe finally, something breaking in the right direction. The next few days were too calm. No calls, no texts, no crisis notifications. Then, Thursday morning, my phone rang. Mom. The first word out of her mouth was, suspended. My heart sank. She explained slowly, as though each sentence weighed 10 pounds. Eli had thrown his entire lunch tray at another student. Milk, spaghetti, fruit, everything. The other boy had joked that Eli's shoelaces were untied. Eli retaliated by mocking his clothes, then said, my mom says kids like you grow up to clean our houses. 3 adults saw it. Ryan arrived within an hour, alone. Megan didn't answer her phone. She'd flown to Chicago the night before for another girls' trip. Ryan didn't defend Eli, didn't argue with the school. He just nodded through the principal's speech like a man who'd finally realized he didn't recognize his own son. Later that evening, my phone rang again. Ryan's number, but the voice wasn't his. It was Eli. Small, quiet, barely above a whisper. Aunt Regina, can I stay at your house? I froze. Why? Dad took my tablet and the TV and the backyard. He swallowed. Then, I didn't mean to mess up your bag. I thought it was a joke. Everyone was laughing. It was the first time I'd ever heard sincerity in his voice. The first crack in the armor of entitlement. Something in him, something in all of them, was finally shifting. That night, Ryan called me again. Calm, exhausted. I found one of Megan's planner books, he admitted. Spa appointments, rooftop brunches, flights, not a single note about Eli. Not one. Silence stretched. I don't want to go back to how things were, he said. For the first time, I see it. And I believed him. But I also knew the real reckoning hadn't come yet. The moment that would force all of us into the same room again, Megan included, was already approaching. And none of us were ready for it. By Sunday evening, the tension in the family felt like static, always buzzing, always present, waiting for the spark that would finally set everything on fire. That spark arrived at dinner. Ryan asked the whole family to meet at my parents' house for a conversation. No one sounded optimistic about it, least of all me. I arrived early. Mom was already setting the table with the kind of cautious movements she used during bad flu seasons when she didn't want to knock over anything fragile. Dad sat in his armchair, silent, staring at the doorway like he expected a storm to walk through it. Ryan sat beside him, shoulders slumped, looking 10 years older than he had a month ago. The storm did arrive. Her name was Megan. She walked in late, of course, with perfect makeup and a dress that absolutely did not say family crisis. It said rooftop cocktail hour. It said photo op ready. Sorry, she chirped, completely unbothered. Traffic was insane. Did I miss anything? No one answered. She sat, smoothed her dress, smiled like we were about to sing happy birthday. Then Ryan inhaled slowly, the kind of inhale you take before you jump into cold water. I'm done pretending. His voice broke on the last word. Megan blinked. Confusion flickered, then irritation. Ryan continued. I've been a bad father, an absent one, and I've treated Regina like a bank, not a sister. That ends today. He told my parents everything he'd been hiding, everything he'd been excusing, everything he'd finally allowed himself to see. The suspension, the lunch tray, the elitist comment that came straight from Megan's mouth. The school warning that one more incident meant expulsion, not suspension. Megan's jaw tightened with every word. But it was Eli who shattered the last illusion. He spoke quietly, so quietly I almost didn't catch it. I don't think Mom likes me that much. The room went still. Megan froze, eyes wide like he'd slapped her. Eli kept going, voice trembling but determined. You're always leaving. You didn't call when the principal sent me home. You didn't even know I was suspended. His small hands twisted in his lap. You didn't ask. A single tear slipped down his cheek. He brushed it away fast, embarrassed. It broke my heart in a way I didn't expect. Because for the first time, Eli wasn't cruel, wasn't performing, wasn't defending himself with arrogance. He was just a child, a hurt, lonely child begging for attention he should never have had to fight for. Dad stood. He didn't yell, didn't rage. He simply looked at Megan with a kind of tired disappointment I'd never seen before. This isn't working, he said. You don't get to float in and out of parenting. This isn't optional. That boy deserves stability. He deserves accountability. He deserves love. Then he turned to Ryan. And you finally opened your eyes. Don't close them again. The words hung in the air like smoke. Megan opened her mouth, maybe to deny, maybe to defend herself, maybe to shift blame, but nothing came out. Instead, she stood and began clearing the plates. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't acceptance. But it was the first time she didn't run. The smallest movement toward responsibility. Sometimes change doesn't begin with speeches. Sometimes it begins with silent, uncomfortable acts. That night, after everyone left, Ryan stepped outside with me. The porch light buzzed quietly above us. He didn't ask for forgiveness, didn't try to justify anything. He simply asked, "Would you help one last time?" The school was charging a $1,600 reassessment cost, a final evaluation, a chance to reset Eli's placement before expulsion. I thought about everything, the years of being used, the laughter at brunch, the humiliation of the bag, the silence when I needed support. But then I thought about Eli, his small, trembling voice, his tear he tried to hide, his apology. I nodded. Once, a single agreement. I'll do it, I said softly, but never again. Ryan swallowed hard. Thank you for everything. There was nothing smug in his voice anymore, just gratitude weighted with shame. A week passed, quietly, almost unnervingly quiet. No requests, no demands, no emergency texts. Megan began showing up, actually showing up, picking Eli up from school, taking him to activities, asking my parents questions instead of brushing them off. Ryan spent afternoons at home instead of hiding in work. He enforced boundaries, real ones, consequences, routines. And Eli softened. One afternoon at a family barbecue, he ran up to me, holding something small and red. Remember the purse I cut? He looked up at me with shy, earnest eyes. Someday I'll buy you a new one, a real one. I smiled. I believe you. He handed me a tiny padded envelope. Inside was a cheap plastic red keychain. Attached was a handwritten note, slanted, uneven, earnest. Even if it's fake, it's still yours. I'm sorry. My throat tightened, because it wasn't perfect, but it was real. And sometimes real matters more. The months that followed weren't magical. They weren't movie-ending perfect, but they were steady. Megan stopped disappearing for days. Ryan stopped expecting me to save them. Eli started becoming kind, gentler, aware. And me? I kept my boundaries. Showed up when I wanted, left when I needed, helped only when it was my choice, not their expectation. No big apology ever came, no sweeping reconciliation, just quiet peace. And one red keychain that still hangs from my bag. A reminder that sometimes the smallest break, the smallest fracture, creates space for real change.